Shocking turn of events at the front. Kupiansk, Russia's lies exposed. Ukraine strikes back and humiliates Putin's army. Dear listeners, welcome to a breathtaking special broadcast from the heart of the conflict. It is January 2026, and the world is holding its breath. Imagine in the icy cold of the Ukrainian Eastern Front where the snow is soaked with the blood of the fallen. A drama is unfolding that is tearing Russian propaganda to pieces. On January 16, 2026, Russia boldly claimed to have gained full control over Kupiansk, a city in the Kharkiv Oblast that has become a symbol of resistance. But wait, that was nothing but a shameless lie, a desperate farce to conceal Putin's catastrophic failures. While Kremlin propagandists in Moscow drummed victory, a fierce battle raged in Kupiansk, and it wasn't Russia advancing. No, it was Ukraine striking with relentless precision. Now, in a sensational turn, Ukrainian forces have encircled Russian troops, luring them into a deadly trap where they must watch helplessly as the blue and yellow flag waves triumphantly over their heads. These Russian soldiers, pathetic relics of an outdated army, are doomed, surrounded without supplies, without hope. How did it come to this? Let's dive deep into this epic battle where heroism faces off against brutality and where the Russian army, this alleged superpower, is exposed as a ridiculous heap of incompetence. It all began just days before Russia's ridiculous declaration of victory. Kupiansk, this strategically vital city on the Oskil River, was already in the headlines, but for reasons that must have panicked the Kremlin. On January 12, 2026, the military portal Militarny reported a dramatic reversal. Far from going under, the Ukrainian defense forces had surrounded the remnants of the Russian invaders and were in the process of mercilessly wiping them out. Three words echo here like a battle cry: search and strike. Yes, the Second Corps of the National Guard of Ukraine reported that the situation in Kupiansk had become critical. Critical for the Russians as early as September 2025. The Corps had reported the threat as Putin's hordes seemingly pushed forward. But Ukraine, this unshakable nation, had a plan. A special search and strike group was formed, consisting of elite brigades and regiments that went on the hunt like a pack of wolves. Among them were the 13th Khartiia Brigade, the 92nd Assault Brigade, the 475th Assault Regiment Code 9.2, supplemented by the 144th Mechanized Brigade and the Foreign Legion of Ukrainian Intelligence. This force, a mixture of volunteers, veterans, and international fighters, had a clear mission to track down and destroy every Russian soldier in Kupiansk. The selection of the Khartiia forces was genius. As the Center for European Policy Analysis revealed back in January 2025, Khartiia is an extraordinary brigade of volunteers founded by one of Ukraine's wealthiest men, Vsevolod Kozhemiako. He pumped millions into it to create a modern army, moving away from the dusty Soviet traditions that still paralyze Russia's troops. Khartiia embraces drone technology, Western training, and innovative tactics. Remember November 2024? Khartiia conducted the first fully robotized attack 30 kilometers north of Kharkiv. Drones from the air monitored and bombed, while ground robots armed with heavy machine guns or mines decimated the Russians. Hundreds of Russian casualties without a single Ukrainian death. A slap in the face for Putin's rusty machinery, which still relies on mass mobilization. These tactics made Khartiia perfect for Kupiansk. The search and strike group targeted a Russian breakthrough north of the city with the ultimate goal of surrounding the advancing Russians, cutting them off from supply lines and making them helpless. Between October and November 2025, they went to work. In bloody battles, the Khartiia Brigade and its allies destroyed several Russian assault detachments and battalions. The 121st and 122nd Motorized Rifle Regiments of the Russians were hacked to pieces. Their soldiers, often involuntarily mobilized peasants from Siberia, died in panic while their officers fled. The same fate befell the 68th Motorized Rifle Division, the 30th Engineer Regiment, and the 27th Motorized Rifle Brigade. The support from the 7th Regiment of unmanned troops and UAV units ridiculously ineffective. The Russian drones' primitive models, often bought from China, were paralyzed by Ukrainian jamming systems, while Ukrainian FPV drones struck precisely with explosive charges of up to 5 kilos of TNT. One by one, the Russians fell over 1,000 dead by Khartiia units alone between September 22nd and January 12, 2026, and those are only the confirmed numbers. Rumors from Russian sources speak of desertions of soldiers throwing away their weapons and surrendering to escape the slaughterhouse. The Ukrainian breakthrough toward the Oskol River north of Kupiansk was the hammer blow. This operation blocked all Russian land routes into the city. No more fresh troops, no ammunition resupply, no food. The Russian forces across the river were isolated like rats in a trap. With the river under control, the search and strike groups concentrated on wiping out the remaining occupiers. The 13th Khartiia Brigade alone liberated the village of Radkivka near Kupiansk, clearing the surrounding forests of Russian sniper nests. Brutal close-quarters combat man-to-man where Ukrainian soldiers dragged the invaders out of their holes with bayonets and grenades. In the northern part of Kupiansk, they surrounded dozens of houses that the Russians had infiltrated. Without backup, the Russians died agonizingly. Many were buried alive in their hiding places when Ukrainian artillery struck with 155mm shells guided precisely by drone reconnaissance. The other units shone just as brightly. The 475th Assault Regiment Code 9.2 captured Kindrashivka and the surrounding forests, supported by the 4th Battalion of the 92nd Brigade. Together, they prevented a Russian encirclement attempt, a counterattack where Russian T-72 tanks got stuck in minefields and were turned into fireballs by Ukrainian Javelin missiles. Over 200 Russian tank wrecks now line the front, a graveyard of Russian arrogance. The 125th Separate Heavy Mechanized Brigade, known as the Skala Regiment, liberated the Yubileyny district of Kupiansk. They cleared high-rise buildings where Russian snipers lurked. In some cases, they blew up the buildings with C4 charges. The Russians trapped in the rubble screamed for mercy that never came. A gruesome end for the invaders who had previously terrorized civilians. All this happened in the months before Russia's ridiculous victory lie. Anyone who looked even halfway closely saw the truth. Ukraine dominated while Russia's army, this corrupt, demoralized horde, bled. On January 17, 2026, just one day after Russia's claim, AA reports revealed Ukraine had recaptured 90% of Kupiansk. Commander-in-Chief Oleksandr Syrsky posted on Telegram. Through active search and strike operations, we have expelled the occupiers from Kupiansk and brought almost 90% of the city under control. After the Ramstein meeting in Germany, he gave details successful attacks in which Russian battalions were destroyed. By January 4, 2026, the Gaze reported only small Russian pockets remained and they were being wiped out. Russia clung to the town hall, a last pathetic symbol. But Viktor Tregubov, spokesperson for the Joint Forces Group, humiliated them. Isolated enemy soldiers are completely surrounded. They have massive supply problems. We even see airdrops. This is the final phase of the cleanup. Even Russian media are quietly admitting it. Fewer than 100 Russians a joke. Their alleged February deadline for capture pure fantasy while their lies crumbled. On January 13, 2026, the trap snap shut. The Khartiia Brigade announced on Telegram that the town hall had been recaptured. The Search and Strike Group and the Kupiansk Tactical Group are completing the clearing of the deblocked city under the leadership of the 2nd National Guard Corps. Ukraine had done it. In months, they turned a seemingly hopeless situation around. Kupiansk was liberated, the Russian presence wiped out, and to prove it, Khartiia released a 2-minute video urban combat coordination from command centers, drone strikes, explosions shredding Russian positions. At the end, the Ukrainian flag waves over the town hall, a slap in the face for Putin. Dear listeners, what do you think now? Would you fight in such a battle to defend your country? Is this the beginning of the end for Russia's invasion or just a temporary triumph? Share your thoughts. Call us, write to us. Your voice could change the world. Yet not everything is rosy. Deep state data from January 11th, 2026 shows large parts are under Ukrainian control, but there are gray zones with ongoing fighting. Russian remnants surrounded without supplies, wait for death, delays in the maps. Possible, but with fewer than 100 Russians, it's only a matter of time. Russia's claims. As false as Putin's 2014 talk about Kiev in 2 weeks. Now in 2026, his army is bleeding out and Ukraine is not slowing down. On January 11th, 2026, 200 skirmishes, 9 Russian attacks on Petropavlovka, Novoplatonivka, Kupiansk, Bohuslavka. Weak, desperate Kupiansk remains a target, a railway hub for Donbass plans. Euromaidan Press from February 2024. Russia needs it for flank security and the encirclement of Kharkiv. The Kyiv Independent from September 2025, Russian glide bombs, artillery, FPV drones, and MLRS systems terrorize the city. But Ukraine strikes back, search and strike groups destroyed the units behind them. The remaining Russians surrounded, begging for mercy. They hope Ukraine replaces strike with surrender. What Kupiansk shows Russia's lies do not hold. Something bigger is breaking in Russia. Manpower is melting away. Ukraine is shredding them. Stay tuned for more. And now to you. Do you believe that Ukraine can hold Kupiansk for good? Will Putin's army collapse? Share your opinion. Subscribe for daily updates. This is your voice from the ether.